Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Happy Monday. What a weekend. I am joined today by BlazeTV contributors, both Matthew Marsden, along with Jaco Booyens. And gentlemen, I'm glad that you guys are here with me on this fine Monday afternoon. We are looking at another hurricane now, coming towards Florida right now. They've just intensified it up to Category 5. This is Hurricane Milton. Floridians are being told to evacuate. I have friends who are like, I'm evacuating. Yeah. We're leaving. I actually, Brianna Morello, who's been on the show before, is one of them. And I'm like, where are you going? I don't know if you want to come all the way to Texas, but like, I've got a guest room. Happy to have you. I think she's going to be in Atlanta. But we're looking at another hurricane at a time where FEMA has told us that they're out of money. Yep. At a time where FEMA still cannot be bothered to get their acts together in order to provide some meaningful assistance with all of this relief, with, gathering supplies, getting them to people. I talked to someone who is former law enforcement who was there, and he was like, we didn't see them anywhere. These are civilians that are going door to door to try to find people who are trapped. They can't make it out to these stations, these donation stations. You've got to go to them. And so we're seeing just all of the devastation continue to just spiral out. We've got tens of thousands who still don't have power. And civilians who are on the ground are like, we can't find help. The state isn't helping us in some cases when it's North Carolina. The feds aren't helping us. I want to play a civilian responder over in North Carolina where he's like, we've been asking the state for more body bags because we need them, and the state is refusing to help us. Watch.
We have had to beg for body bags.
Oh my gosh.
And funeral homes, Bennett's funeral home got us some too, locally, Bennett's and Conover. But there's been some other people, we had phone calls and said, they couldn't approve it from the state. The state had 2,000, but they couldn't approve it because they didn't have no word that there was that many bodies to cover, because we'd asked for 500. And so there's no way to even do anything with body bags, with the bodies.
Gosh.
And they haven't even been able to get to all the places to recover the bodies.
Oh.
And they're griping about that. And so you got people that can't even, Lincolnton and Statesville has, it's great. Hickory's been working, but they have to wait for the FDA to approve all the insulin or whatever. And, the sheriff here, he's down here somewhere, I want to introduce you to him. He is a stand-up man. Awesome. He told them to get lost. They tried to shut them down 3-4 times yesterday.
So everywhere they're getting involved, it's slowing it down.
Yes, and they even kept us from landing in 2 different places.
Oh my gosh.
For supplies. And they were turning planes around, not letting them land. Had all these pilots and people have been working nonstop 24/7 all week. And all these volunteers, some of the volunteers don't even have power. The sheriff's, his church is making dinner.
Awesome.
He has worked nonstop helping everyone. And this right here is the hero of the whole thing.
So,
what's your name?
You watch stuff like this, and in times of true crisis and tragedy, all you see are these best examples of why decentralization is so important. I mean, those are all volunteers. Those are all civilians. Those are locals helping locals, or in some cases, if you're Glenn Beck, someone from out of state going, I want to come in and help. And people are doing that as well. It's not the federal government. And so you watch this and you're like, I don't know how else anyone can come to any other conclusion then why in the world do we have a system where we are paying taxes for FEMA to take the lead on a crisis? And it's like, nope. It turns out the government just screws everything up that they touch. They just make it harder. They just make it worse. And here you have volunteers in a time of true crisis and tragedy just reaffirming that.
You know, Stupid are as stupid does, right? And so in any project, we're in a construction project at the moment and we're duplicating it. So you learn from the one project and you start refining and do it better next time, more cost effective, more careful with resources, right? Why after all this time, and in a state like Florida that is way better equipped to handle these natural disasters, people boarding up doors, etc., right? But why would FEMA ever be a federal program and not take the funding from the federal government, right, and distribute it to the states so the states can administer it if it is in fact coming from your federal income tax, which is where it comes from? Right. Why should that potluck be held by the federal government? That's a horrible idea to start with. Yeah, let's let the ones squandering money, control the the war chest for troubled times. It should always go to the states, but yet nobody goes in DC and refines it because they're on the take. Because they fund their own programs. Because today it's sexy for them to help the migrants. So let's rob Peter to pay Paul over here. And the states have nothing. Now you got a second, 10 days, 14 days, 2 weeks. You got a second hurricane hitting. Yes, Florida is more equipped, but people are still going to need resources. And there's nothing. So you're making a point. I've said this so long. I think it's the one mistake our founding fathers make, because I don't think they ever thought that Americans could be this corrupt, but the government should never have been centralized in Washington, D.C. to start with. I mean, that's the one thing. We should decentralize this thing to where now imagine if half of the people lived in Asheville.
Right.
And their homes were hit. They're not living in D.C.
Right.
Oh, they would make sure that there's some reserve capital.
Yeah, I mean, to Jaco's point, we showed one of the graphs last week of the just how densely populated these particular areas are with evangelical Christians, with Republicans. So it does make one wonder. It's like, well, if the feds are now a regime and they're out to get all of us, and we know that, and you see that it just so happens, coincidentally, that all of these areas that were so hardly hit so hard and also are like, where are the feds, happen to be people who I don't believe the federal government likes very much. It does make you wonder.
Yeah, I mean, you got a couple of things going on there. Firstly, I mean, at least we have equity with FEMA. I mean, let's be honest, at least we got equity. It's unbelievable. I watched a documentary a few years back now about Harley Davidson, and they spoke, they were talking about the brothers, and what they did was when they created a motorcycle, what they would do is they would get a cask of beer and they crack the beer open, they'd all drink it. And it made me think about how regulation has come in and absolutely destroyed innovation, right? I mean, they say it's in the name of being safe, right? It's not at all. Like, you're seeing it right now. They're being stopped. Think about this. They're being stopped from landing. Why? Because it's a safety concern. But people are dying.
Right.
They are dying.
You got OSHA concerns when people are drowning. Forget about your OSHA concern. Right. Get in there and get the kid out of the water.
Right.
And here's the worry. I'll tell you this right now. There will be lawsuits coming after the people that are going in there and saving people. This is how mental it is. And we need a fundamental change in this country. Like, Trump's got to come in and he's got to get rid of a lot of stuff, but a lot. And he did this last time. It's one of the things they actually did. He got rid of a lot of regulation. And we've got to put caps on these attorneys, these attorneys that are ambulance chasers, and they're stopping people from doing their job. Like, even now, you look at the Daniel Penny situation, you're like, who's going to stand up and get involved when someone's getting hurt? This is what it is. It's on every single level. Are you going to go in and you're going to drive your boat to get that person out? Is that person going to sue you for saving them? And I know this might sound stupid,
this is the reality.
But it's a reality, because they're like, I can make $100 million out of this. I'll sue the federal government. I'll sue this. I'll sue that. And that's what people are thinking about. We've lost that I say we, I'm not talking about Republicans and conservatives, because we, for the most part, do not do that. We don't do that. We understand what people are doing to get us out of situations. But there are opportunists. We have to cut down the federal government. It has to go. This is a problem. Like you said, it's got to be localized. If you go back to the way it was many, many years ago, you would put money into, as we said the other day, to your own local projects, and you would be involved in it and you would know. So the fact is this shouldn't be controlled by FEMA. It should be controlled by local people that understand where everything is and where all the money's going. That's
There's
it.
nobody to be held accountable. If it's local, there's that person. It's your job to release that funds for this project in this community. Who do you hold accountable? Who's FEMA? Americans couldn't even tell you, well, who's in charge of FEMA? Who's the person that's the fall guy? Even when a president gets shot, the director of the CIA doesn't get fired. There's no fall guy. She has to step down. Who's the fall? There's no fall guy. So there's no oversight, right? It is gross incompetence. You make a point that crosses way past disaster relief. If you look at our medical society, healthcare, it's frivolous lawsuits in this country. Mm-hmm. We are the most litigious country on earth, right? Yeah. Where scumbag lawyers, not just ambulance chasers, will intentionally. There's a big retailer, you don't even want to know, hundreds of millions of dollars a year they got to pay for what's called intentional slip and fall, where they have people on camera squirting ketchup on the floor, falling, breaking. It's insane. It has to stop because you can't. Now everybody is scared to death. The doctor doesn't want to tell you what the prognosis is. You can't function a society that way. It's impossible.
Well, and I think aside from the medical malpractice, I think most Americans just are very scared that, well, most conservatives are just scared that the federal government is going to find a reason to imprison them because they seem to just be like, okay, we've decided that we are going to punish these people because they, I don't know, believe in low taxes and liberty, and we will figure out how to make it fit. Right. We'll come up with the crime later. We've just already decided that this is the person that we're going to punish, I think is because, you have the pilot that said I was threatened with arrest because I was going out and trying to get supplies to a family who was stranded. I mean, it's like.
Think about that.
I know. It's insane. It's insane. So I think that more so people are like, lawsuits aside, I don't want to go to jail. You're talking about Daniel Penny, which I want to take a break here in a second. And then I want to get back to this FEMA conversation because there are a couple more important points, pieces of this puzzle that I want the audience to see. But, you think that the federal government can't get any worse, right? I mean, we talk about this all the time. They're just so bad at what they do. And then you see something like this and you're like, no, I underestimated.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
How terrible they were. And I want to ask you guys this. Just give me just a brief answer. They say that the death toll is 230. And just for reference, Katrina killed 1,850 people. Do you think that death toll that they say from Hurricane Helene is at all
No, I mean, look, she just said right there, she's looking for body bags. No. So you got to think, and this is the way they think. If we give out body bags, then we have to record the body bags. We have to say how many bodies have gone in the body bags. And then, the number goes up. So guess what? Don't give out the body bags. Don't record the bodies that are dead. We don't look incompetent. Thank you very much. Right. We'll let those bodies get eaten by alligators or whatever it is. And then it'll go away. They do not care about us.
My brief answer, Sarah, what I've now how long I've been since 2001 in the U.S., the federal government, it's 10%. They'll tell you 10% of what's actually going on. When I look at the border and then tell you, well, about 1 million people, and that's 10 million. Mm-hmm. So sad to say, but I think the death toll is dramatic.
Yeah, I would agree with that, especially because all of the accounts that we're seeing from on the ground from actual people who are there are like, this is so much worse than they're telling you. Mm-hmm. And typically I'm not going to go to TikTok for a reputable source, so to speak, but you hear it from enough people and you can see that that's clearly where they are. And you're like, okay, but this is the local everyday citizen. I don't they have more to say that I would believe than the federal government or FEMA or Kamala Harris.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so let's go ahead and take a quick break. And then I want to add a couple pieces to this puzzle. First, I want to thank our sponsor, Raycon. So Raycon, the thing about Raycon that is so funny in my house is that I started out with one pair of Raycons. They're these wireless earbuds. Actually, I think they have like the big headphones as well, but I use the earbuds that go all the way in my ear, and they're very, very comfortable. And they've got different like tips so that you can make sure that it fits your ear just perfectly. They're different sizes. And I started out with one pair of Raycons in my house, and I very quickly learned that that's not going to work because everyone in my house was fighting me for them. Because everyone likes them. And so now we have about 4 pairs of Raycons in our house, and mine are pink. And I live in a house full of boys. So I'm like, oh, put a pink earbud in your ear. They won't. So now I can make sure that I have my Raycons whenever I need them. It's really, really, really premium audio quality. They've got 32-hour battery life, multi-point connectivity with the everyday earbuds, and they're not going to fall out of your ear. It really is. It's like, I don't know, just a small fraction of the price of some of the other premium brands. It's a steal. So make sure, go check them out over at buyraycon.com/Sara Unfiltered. I know it's kind of lengthy, but just go there. Okay, you can get 20 to 50% off site-wide. So make sure, go there, stock up now, buyraycon.com/Sara Unfiltered. Matt, you mentioned equity. At least FEMA has equity. And it's something that we have talked about on the show. I went over to the website and I was like, oh, here's their strategic goals. Oh, here's goal number 1, equity. That's kind of weird. Right. Like you would think that goal number 1 would just be making sure that you're there and have money and can help with the crisis. It's kind of the point. That's why it's called emergency management. Nothing to do with equity. And so I want to play just as an example of how deep this rot gets when it comes to DEI and the importance of making sure that your government doesn't decide that now equity and DEI are the most important things of all time. Here is footage of a FEMA Zoom call that has recently surfaced showing employees saying that actually LGBTQ people should be the agency's priority in a disaster. Here is Tyler Atkins, I believe, a training manager in FEMA's Office of Resilience. Watch.
Sparked a few things in my mind, thinking about preparedness and how you said, LGBTQIA people and people who have been disadvantaged already are struggling. They already have their own things to deal with. So you add a disaster on top of that. It's
unbelievable. You cannot even. This is a mental illness that I don't think you come back from. This is brain rot.
The why of why we're having these discussions is because it isn't being talked about. It isn't being.
By the way, those of you listening on audio, this is
paying attention
a gentleman with the pronouns he, they.
Thank you so much.
I still don't quite understand.
Thank you. There are a couple of things that are intersecting in my mind here. One of them is the culture of emergency management as an organization, as an industry in the United States specifically, not abroad. This has, and my cat sometimes does this. She gets really loud.
Of course she has a cat.
It's a cat. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats.
The shift that we're seeing right now is a shift in emergency management from utilitarian principles where everything is designed for the greatest good for the greatest amount of people.
She said, but you heard she said emergency management culture.
Right?
It shouldn't be a culture. There should just be get out there and do the job.
Topics where we have to look at policies and understand to what extent they have disadvantaged communities that had less assets, communities that had pre-existing vulnerabilities in accessing
your sexual orientation does not count.
Recovery supports.
Like, can you? Oh, there goes her cat again. Can you? Well, one of them. I don't know how many she has. Can you? I can't even wrap my brain around federal emergency management being like, but you know what we should do is prioritize the people who like to have sex with their own gender.
Well, can you imagine? They're going along in a boat. Meh. Excuse me, do you like ABBA? No, you can wait. Excuse me, do you like ABBA? Yes, come on in the boat. come on. I mean, this is just absurd. Like what they're basically doing is truly saying that some person's life is worth more than another person's life.
They say it every day, Matthew. Right. Every single day they tell you that they pick and choose winners and losers, or who gets to live and who gets to die. And if you're fudge packing, you can live. And if you're not, swim in the cesspool and fight for yourself with the waters that are raging. And it's insanity. At some point, I don't know, man. I miss Africa. I really have missed Africa the last 3 months, because this kind of crap does not fly in Africa. You help somebody, there's no oversight. If you can't drive your boat, you're going to get sued. It's insane. This nation has lost its marbles completely, utterly. I don't know how Trump is going to do what he's going to do, because he's going to need a whole lot of help, and you can't just wave a wand and make these things go away. You cannot fix this stuff in 4 years.
No.
You cannot, because it wasn't broken in 4 years. It was broken in 50, 90 years. So, I mean, it's time to call crazy, crazy. It's time to call stupid, stupid, and demonic, demonic. Stop with all this, tolerance nonsense. Talking about who gets to drown and who gets to get oxygen. Well, who's gay and who's not? What?
Well, gay people have already had a tough life.
Every human life is valuable. You save everybody. You feed everybody.
Yeah. You save as many people as
what are we talking about
can.
here?
Regardless of who they prefer to sleep with. All I know is that if I am in some sort of a crisis and FEMA is involved, I'm like, I'm gay. I'm a lesbian. Please help me. I need food. I love women.
So you're telling me right
now? Me too. I am a
me.
lesbian trapped in a man's body.
So you're telling me in the next hurricane, all you're going to see sticking out of the water is rainbow flags?
Yes, hello.
It's me. Please just
don't be talking to them about the flood.
And look, you're not talking about a social conversation in a coffee shop here. This is on an official Zoom call.
Right.
This is like serious.
Yeah.
You can't.
Well, it's
and I'll
supposed
tell
to
you
be
this.
serious.
I'll tell you this. Not one of those people was capable of pulling anybody out
from anything.
From anything. They're not. It's
victim
all LARPing.
mentality, victimhood.
It's LARPing. Jaco, it's LARPing. This isn't real. It's all pretend to them. And by the way, I can tell you this. A lot of gay people are sick of this.
Absolutely.
They are just sick of this.
100%. Yes. Yes.
So in addition to that, this one more piece of this puzzle here, and I'm just going to present what we know or don't know, and we can speculate a little bit, but like I'm just giving you what I'm seeing happen at all of these places. So yesterday, people in North Carolina said that 2 black SUVs did a side-by-side slow roll at the entrance of one of their civilian donation and distribution centers in Burnsville, North Carolina. Okay. So they were like, oh, that's weird. This like these 2 big black trucks just like rolling up real slow. And then they said 45 minutes later, after those SUVs came by, an unmarked helicopter destroyed some of the stuff that they had set up at the distribution center. Here is some of that. Yeah, so here's the unmarked helicopter, and it's lowering itself so far that all of the supplies, the tents, are flying up in the air. And so what they said happened was, there it is, they dipped down and performed a rotor wash, which seemed deliberate, then flew off, destroying a lot of the staging area and harming the people below. So very strange stuff, don't you think? It says it's unmarked, and we were able to zoom in and see masked people. And look at the supply setup. Like, so it's illegal to fly unmarked helicopters. And I just would wonder who it would be that would be allowed to fly in an unmarked helicopter, lower itself, obviously very unsafe, and you can see when you're in a helicopter, you can see
with the intent to destroy.
Seemingly, yes. I mean well, I know, and that's what I'm saying. Like, how much of this is speculation and how much is just common sense,
didn't
right?
land
Like
and
they saw
pick anybody up.
They saw what was down there. They lowered it enough to cause destruction, and then they left. So you tell me.
Well, I mean, I want to know, didn't Mayor Pete say that we couldn't fly drones over there to help save people?
Yes.
So if that's the case, then they know who this is. They have to know who it is.
That's what I would
A little bit
think.
bigger than the drone. A little bit.
Little bit.
Okay.
Right.
And it's unmarked.
And it has
This
to
is not
land
the movie-
somewhere.
This is not the movie The A-Team, right, or The Expendables. This is real life. You're talking about intentionally, potentially, allegedly, disrupting relief. What are we doing here? After 2 cars roll up, scoping?
Right. Right. So it's like,
That's 50 feet in the air, by the way. That's not.
it's so unsafe. And they know, I mean, you would
That's
know
a
that
lot.
if you were
Over
someone who
civilians.
was, right, if you're someone who is, I don't know, flying an unmarked black helicopter,
Look at this
I
thing
think
dropping
you
down.
know, I think you know better.
Look at how close it is to the light.
Yes.
The people are running away. I mean,
Not 100 yards to the right, right over
Right over it.
the supply management, station. America, your government has left you.
they hate you.
They hate you. They're your opposition. You get to vote this November, and then you get to vote again in early next year, end of the first quarter, for your local government. Stop voting for stupid, unpatriotic people that want you dead. It's not even they don't like you. They don't want you on this planet.
I would just add evil. Just evil people is who our country is run by. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll be back with more, but we want to thank our sponsor, this segment, Relief Factor. So Relief Factor is there for those of you who, maybe you've got like neck pain, back pain, I don't know. But all I'm telling you is that it's an all-natural anti-inflammatory. It actually works because it targets the root cause of your pain. And I say this as someone that it has worked for, and it's also worked for both of the gentlemen that are sitting at the table with me. It's literally worked for all 3 of us. And the odds are that it will work for you if you're living in pain. They have this 3-week quick start. You can go on to relieffactor.com to order it, but they say that 70% of the people who order that go on to keep ordering more. That's how many people that it's working for. So the odds are in your favor that it's going to work for you as well. And think about how life-changing that could be. Go to relieffactor.com, get that 3-week quick start. It's $19.95. They have a guarantee. So you have nothing to lose except your pain. Check them out, relieffactor.com. Well, obviously, today, October 7th, marks the 1-year anniversary of just the awful, horrific, evil attack on Israel by Hamas. This was 1,200 people that they killed, 250 hostages, Israeli hostages, many American hostages who the Biden administration seems to just not care about at all. We've heard no updates on what they're doing, how they're trying to find them, if they're trying to find them. Well, after talking in the last segment, I think we all know the answer to that one. And I want to play, Jason Buttrill is actually in Israel right now. And I was kind enough to document some of this. I was going to have him on the show live, but the time difference is pretty harsh. So we couldn't make that work. So he's out there on the day of the anniversary, and he kind of gave us an inside look. I'm going to play that.
Hey, this is Jason Buttrill here, saying hi to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered and the people watching the show today. Pretty insane spot where I'm at right here. I'm at one of the kibbutzes that was one of the first ones hit on October 7th. And just down there is the gate where they smashed through with bulldozers and paraglided down on those paragliders that you saw. But they marched up this path right here behind me and then continued to begin their reign of terror, shooting up and blowing up homes all up and down this little path here. This kibbutz was one of the hardest hit. when you think about how dense this little area is. 64 people were murdered here, and multiple others were taken hostage. There's still hostages over in that direction where I just showed you, down that pathway. But they went down paths like this in this kibbutz, murdering, assaulting. It didn't matter. You can go all the way down this pathway, and you can see the people that were murdered in each home. It's just every single home. It did not matter men, women, or children. Every single home was hit in this poor little town. It's just unimaginable. Every single home is marked with the person that they murdered or took. I've seen quite a few places where the ravages of war have hit, but nothing quite like this. And even now, you can hear off in that direction where Gaza is. It's just like 1 kilometer in that direction. You can still hear the gunshots, the machine guns, the explosions going off, as Israel's still trying to bring some of the people that were taken from this area finally home to their families. That's what today is all about. It's been 365 days. It's still going on. It still has not been fully resolved. And the families still have not had closure on what's happened here. But I mean, it's all up and down. It's one of the most horrific things that I have seen. And this is only the beginning of the day. So I'll take you to our next site. We're gonna go to the site of the Noah Festival, and I'll show you what that looks like. Hey, Sara Unfiltered fam. Just wanted to check back in again. We went to another memorial. This is back behind me is the site of the Nova massacre. This is absolutely impossible to describe if you're not here to actually see and feel what's going on here. But this was the main dance location back here, and I took some footage walking through. They put pictures of every single person that was killed there. Over 360 people murdered, slaughtered right there. And they were telling us before that they found bodies for days. Not only there, back over there, but as they ran that direction and deeper that direction. That is where the terrorists came from, that direction back towards Gaza. Even now, you can still hear gunfire, you can hear explosions off in the distance. Fighting still goes on, and they're still doing memorials, even in the midst of everything that's going on. It's pretty crazy.
Thank you to Jason for getting that footage for us. It's really devastating when you just see, I mean, even just watching through video, you see all of these pictures of these people who lost their lives at a music festival, going out there to, have a good time. And I appreciate Jason for documenting that on the ground over there in Israel. It's really hard to imagine that it's been a year. It really is. And we seem to be in no better of a place with that particular, what I don't want to call it a war yet. Is it a war? I mean, what do I even call it? Conflict? No, when does it become a war? I mean, Iran's already launching missiles.
It's war
over there. I mean, it feels a whole lot like it's there's hostages.
No, it's war.
You've got Hezbollah and Hamas now. You've got Iran saying, "Oh, okay, we're not going to play games. It is actually us. We're just going to send missiles directly to you." Everything is in chaos here, and it's been an entire year. I can't believe it.
It's hard to believe it's a year. But it's war. It's war. The moment you cross international, the moment you cross international lines and you fire a shot, it's an act of war. You're declaring war. It's war. But Israel,
and on civilians.
Israel,
less.
yeah, of course, Israel is attacked every single day, and they have been. But this was different. I do just feel I need to say one thing here. It's not because of land. What they want to tell you, it's not because of territory. It's because of faith. And there's a sect on this earth that live to kill, steal, destroy. They come in alignment with Satan. It's hatred. So the fact that the whole world did not look at that event that day and said, we're standing with Israel, and how dare Israel retaliate. Now that, Hezbollah has been fractioned with their communications. Now Iran is saying, well, we'll just come out, no more proxy war. We'll just do it ourselves. And I think now's the time that you're actually going to see Israel have the capacity to, in the green light, to take out a nuclear stronghold within Iran, because now Iran has attacked directly. It was always through proxy. Israel never had the opportunity to say, it is Iran.
Right.
We're going after him. It was proxy. And it was brilliant for Israel to discombobulate their communications with the pagers and all that. And now Iran is like, it's us. So I anticipate something significant, like Israel taking out a nuclear plant or something significant. And I don't know the world can stand against Israel for that, because Iran has now directly attacked. But it's an atrocity. It's sad. It's very sad.
Yeah. Matt?
Yeah, I mean, it's very emotional, isn't it, to see that? I mean, I was watching that with Jason going through, and he's seen a lot, as you have, and it's just unbelievable. I mean, I think that what we really need to understand is that could happen right here. Yeah. I don't think it can't happen in the United States. Do not think it cannot happen in the UK, because people really need to understand what a porous border really means. Mm-hmm. Right? We don't have fruit pickers coming over. That's not what it is. Nope. You think that a terrorist country, terrorist organization is going to look at the US, which can never be broken outside, right? It will always come from within. And they are not going to send people to come over and attack us on the inside. Right. They all want to die. They're not afraid of dying. Right? So
for their cause.
It's their no, it's how they get honor.
Yes. Yeah.
It's sick.
Right. Well, and I think that it is such an important point to kind of hone in on is, if you're living in America and you think that their hatred stops at Jewish people, you're crazy. All these Americans who are like, oh, pro-Palestine, free Palestine, all the liberate they'll kill you too. Oh, if they get the chance, they will. They hate you too. They hate Americans. They hate America. Trust me on this. So, and they are here.
Oh, they're here. Oh, yeah. There are cells here. I mean, everybody knows that there's cells here. I'm actually surprised that they haven't activated them yet.
I am too.
Honestly, I don't know what they're waiting for, to be honest.
I thought that it would come today. Praise God that it didn't.
Nothing happened, but I will remind you, Bin Laden's family, the pilots of 9/11 were embedded. They wait for years. They were trained here. They got their pilot's licenses here. They embed. It's not quick.
Played a long game.
It's long game. Mm-hmm. And we opened the door. 182 countries documented crossing our border. Every terror I've spoken to every special ops group that's operational today have confirmed that any terror cell that they've tracked globally, they believe have had elements cross into this country. They're not coming here to contribute to American society.
No.
It's not why they come.
No. Well, I'm sure you gentlemen will be joining me in praying for all of those in Israel who Absolutely. Lost loved ones and Absolutely. Who are just fighting for, their right to exist and live. And we will take a quick break. First, we want to remind you guys about our new quarterly magazine, Frontier. It's beautiful. It's like, I had you guys hold it. It's like, it's heavy duty, high quality magazine. They've got articles about, the everyday American, flyover nation, things that interest you. They've got articles written by Mark Levin, Chris Rufo, Glenn Beck, and more. And what they're asking you to do is join our Blaze Unlimited membership. And with Blaze Unlimited, you're going to receive this quarterly magazine every single quarter. And also you're going to receive a limited edition founding members card, more behind the scenes content, VIP access, and a chance to have your voice heard. So once this issue is gone, it's gone. You can get the next quarterly magazine, but once this issue is gone, it is gone. So make sure to go claim your spot over at blazeunlimited.com/Sarah. That is blazeunlimited.com/Sarah. Let's talk about Kamala Harris's weekend. Okay, we finally had the interview drop between Kamala and Alex Cooper, who is the host of the popular podcast Call Her Daddy, which, are you gentlemen familiar with this podcast? It's actually, sadly, insanely popular. The last couple of episodes, I believe, focused on oral sex. But very raunchy, sexually charged podcast. And so during this interview, which again just dropped, I think it was yesterday, they brought up abortion. And I want to play this cutesy little moment where I think they thought that they really had those mean men on this one. Here's that exchange.
I want to pose this question more to you and the Daddy Gang, but one of the biggest conversations in this year's election revolves around a woman's body.
No, it doesn't.
I want to take a moment.
Revolves around a child.
And can we try to think of any law that gives the government the power to make a decision?
I know what you're going to ask.
About a man's
No.
Oh, really?
Is there any law?
No.
None.
No.
Oh, really?
It's no.
Wow.
It's no. How about the selective service, Kamala? All of our males have to sign up when they're 18. And if the government decides that they need to be drafted, they go and their lives mean nothing to you. Yep. I'd say that that's control over a man's body. How about the injection that you forced our males in military to inject into themselves, not knowing what the long-term or short-term consequences were? How about that, Kamala? You think that's government having control over a male's body? You dingbat. I censored myself there.
I'm impressed.
Thank you. Because I really felt it. I felt it on the inside, and I just said, you know what? I always feel like he's so pure and innocent, and I don't want to.
And I'm not. I'm very pure and innocent. No,
you're not. So yes, it was basically more of that in that particular podcast. There are a lot of people saying, I know she said, I told Donald Trump that basically extended an invitation for Donald Trump to join her. I think that would be a terrible idea. Clearly, that is what she's about. Sadly, way too many people listen to her podcast.
Here's the deal. I just want us to pause for a second, right? The fact that a presidential candidate, even if it was a legitimate one, because this one hasn't earned a vote.
Right.
In my opinion, not legitimate, right? But that any presidential candidate would stoop so low to sit on that type of a podcast. That's what you associate with, which is sexual abomination. If you watch that show, it is the worst example for young American girls on the planet, right? Should say something about the state of our nation. I mean, it is the fact that show has tens of millions of views. Number one, should be highly concerning.
Yeah, I agree.
For what's happening with our youth, with Gen Z, because they're running them off a cliff. I mean, it's Andrew Tate on steroids, on the opposite direction. I mean, it is.
Yeah, it's
diabolical.
I'm not shocked that she's on it. I mean, come on.
Well, right.
Really?
Right. There was Danny Polishuk did a deep fake.
Oh, really?
It was actually really funny because it was Kamala talking about I know a lot of people think that I'm just here because of Willie Brown, and it just went into it, and I was like, Oh my God! Did she? Oh, it was.
But here's the thing. To what Jaco was saying, and I've gone on and on and on about this, about people out there. I know our audience follows us, is liking and subscribing people that you believe in, right? And people that you support. It's very, very, very important, even though you're like, we hate Google. All right, whatever, right? But this person has millions and millions of followers, and the message is getting out, and it does filter over to other people.
Oh, yes.
We don't have that the other way.
Right. Yeah.
Because
We're terrible at it.
Because you're not selling death and destruction and sin and abomination, which plays into the carnal sin in the flesh. They sell destruction.
Yeah.
And destruction is tasty to broken people. We sell functional wisdom, logic, law and order, protect life, womb to casket, right? That takes some accountability. That takes some look in the mirror. That takes some, hey, stand up and be a contributing citizen. They sell anarchy.
They don't like that. I also want to play real quick here before we run out of time. I want to play, she sat down with Face the Nation, okay, for an interview. And I want to play a classic Kamala answer when she was asked about our relationship with Israel. Watch.
Work that we do diplomatically with the leadership of Israel is an ongoing pursuit around making clear our principles, which include the need for humanitarian aid, the need for this war to end, the need for a deal to be done, which would release the hostages and create a ceasefire. And we're not going to stop in terms of putting that pressure on Israel and in the region, including Arab leaders.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill,
well,
he needs to
but
the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
I was going to say it's soup. It's vomit. It's word vomit. What did she say?
I don't even know.
You want 4 more years of that?
Yeah, Bibi's got to listen to Kamala. Right. Bibi's got to listen to Kamala. Well, if we can get a ceasefire, we can get our Americans out. Get our black ops guy, get in there, all our guys, and go get the Americans out. Yeah. Go get our people.
Well, that ain't happening under that type of leadership, whatever that was that you just saw. We got to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Was an absolutely insane crowd for Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, of course, where the first assassination attempt on his life took place. And I want to show Donald Trump at the beginning. He enters the stage, and this is what takes place.
And thank you, a very big thank you to Pennsylvania. We love Pennsylvania. And as I was saying...
So good. Of course, pointing to